The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. These are the words of the Apostle Paul in his letter to the early church in Galatia. It can be found in Galatians 5:22 and 23. The teachings of Christ center around the social morality and duty of believers. And the founding fathers of the United States built our fledgling nation around his word. The concepts of equality, charity, and justice for all mankind is a uniquely Christian perspective. The idea of public education, universities, hospitals, and charitable organizations did not exist in the world before Christ's followers developed them in direct response to his teachings. It struck me that many modern Americans have rejected Jesus Christ without realizing that he is the source of everything they consider to be good in the world. When a nation turns its back on its source of morality, the underlying morality eventually subsides. I propose that this sliding away from the virtues of Christian morality is the cause of many of the social, economic, and political problems that we face today. Much of the nation has turned their backs on Christ, not realizing that they would be leaving behind the source of traditional morality. So what happens when a society turns its back on the fundamental morals it was founded on? Surprisingly, the answer is not that it slides into an anarchistic absence of ethics. Rather, one system of morality is inevitably replaced by another, whether its adherents realize it or not. I once pondered what source of objective morality U.S. culture could possibly cling to after turning its back on Christian virtue. And I was shocked and amazed when I recently found the answer in a book titled Rediscovering Catholicism by Matthew Kelly. So what are the modern American values? The United States has embraced three distinct moral philosophies that guide our decisions and our understanding of what is right or wrong in modern life. Analyze these sources of new morality closely, and you can see how every hot-button issue in our society comes down to a battle between the adherents of Christian morality and the adherents of these three philosophies. Number one, individualism. Individualism places supreme importance on the self. All ethical decisions are made based on their impact on the individual making the decision. The individual ego demands all moral sanctity be given to it, and that personal questions of ethics be determined by the utility they provide. Fierce demands for personal liberty at any cost to society stem from this philosophy, since individualism views personal freedom as the most precious moral good to be attained. Number two, hedonism. Hedonism considers anything that provides pleasure to be a moral good. Pleasure is seen as evidence that something is good and worthy of protection at all costs. Under hedonism, pleasure is an inalienable right of every individual to pursue and obtain, as long as it doesn't cause direct harm to another person. Number three, materialism. Materialism judges the value of people based on material possessions, and sees the accumulation of material things as a moral good. Under materialism, wealthy individuals are respected and revered for their possessions. Materialism demands that children look to these people as role models and examples of success in society, modeling the values that led to their accumulation of wealth. So what happens when these three moral philosophies are blended? We end up with a society of disconnected individuals who believe that they are the most important people in their own lives, demanding the right to achieve pleasure for their own good in any way that does not directly harm others, especially in the pursuit of wealth and possessions. We end up with confused children who model their behavior off of celebrities who are only famous for obtaining wealth, demanding that they be allowed to make their own choices to achieve constant pleasure and entertainment in their lives. We end up with a society that easily embraces 70% obesity, an epidemic of lifestyle-related disease, unprecedented numbers of divorces, hatred and bigotry of people with opposing viewpoints, while demanding that its government focus on protecting individuals' rights to pleasure rather than solving deep economic and political problems. With the blending of individualism, hedonism, and materialism, there is no room for self-giving, no room for unconditional love, no room for national duty, personal discipline, self-control, or any of the personal qualities of character and integrity possessed by the citizens who designed and built our great nation. We are in a transitional period in our cultural morality. At this time, traditional Christian values of forgiveness, love, giving, justice, and human dignity still exist alongside the ever-growing systems of individualism, hedonism, and materialism. However, the further people turn away from Christ, the further they will turn away from God-centered morality. Fortunately, Christians still have a very strong presence in the United States. Unfortunately, however, those who truly follow Christ seem to be some of the least vocal in our cultural and political arenas and debates. There are many people in the U.S. spreading messages of hate in the name of Christ, but I don't count these as Christ's followers. They may believe in his life, death, and resurrection, but they ignore his commands and teachings. Whether you follow Christ or not, two things are impossible to deny. First, our nation was built by followers of Christ and designed according to his teachings, but many modern Americans have turned their backs on Christian morality. Second, our nation has traditionally been the strongest country in the world, and today it's on the brink of collapse. The teachings of Christ and Christian morality have proven themselves capable of strengthening, building, and sustaining a society, whereas the blending of individualism, hedonism, and materialism have only proven to tear societies apart from the inside. As for me and my household,